Hello, everybody. Welcome back to On Track GP. We're back again today because we had not one launch this morning, but two launches. We had McLaren very discreetly dropped their new MCL38 this morning with a couple of photos across social media, and then of course the big one, Mercedes, dropped their all new revised concept, the Mercedes W15. So joining me again today is Jamie. How are you doing, Jamie?
Very well, Coylin. I'm joining you from Antica Ostia in Italy today.
You're making me jealous. It's raining in London at the minute. Gloomy out the window.
How are you doing? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, enjoying these car launches as we go along. So let's kick off with very quickly, because it was a very quick post. Let's kick off with McLaren. Obviously, they launched their MCL38 this morning. We already knew what the car looked like. We knew what the delivery looked like. But was there anything there that kind of stood out for you when you seen it?
I'm a little bit concerned by what was said with McLaren, actually. It seems to me like they haven't got all the development they wanted to get into the car before Bahrain. Zach Brown was very open about the fact that there is room for development going into this. So potentially, are we going to see a McLaren season that is reminiscent of last season, but with the upgrades at the start of the season that we saw? Or is it a case of double bluff and we're just not going to say how far we've pushed this car forward? I like the livery. Again, there are going to be a lot of black cars on the grid this year. And that's going to be something. But no, I think from what I've seen in the McLaren, it looks good. They seem relatively positive, and if anything, having upgrades and development left in the back locker to do halfway through the season might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, if they are playing a bit of a double bluff, you just have to remember, like last year, how far they came along. They couldn't finish a race Bahrain last year, and then they went to finish in second best to Red Bull. But let me ask you this: do you think Lando Norris will get his first win this year?
I'd love it. I really would love it.
We all would.
He's been the nearly man for too long. So I personally, I would like to see multiple winners this year and a really open pack. I can't genuinely see it. I think the RB20 may be just that far ahead, and with Checo and Verstappen able to push even more, I think it would be a big ask for Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, and Aston Martin to really close that gap. But in answer to your question, I would love to see a Lando Norris win. In all honesty, I'd love to see a Oscar Piastri win, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's too many to disagree with that. But let's move on quickly over to Mercedes, obviously the big one. When I seen the car initially this morning, the first thing I thought was every single part of it has changed. Like when they said revived concept, they weren't kidding. What were your thoughts?
I kind of smiled. I was like, "Oh, identity crisis." It looks great from the front, and you're quite right. A wholly revised concept, which is huge, and I'm really happy about that. It's revolution, which is great. W15 or not, it looks so far away from where we were last year, and this looks like it could be the car that takes them back to full competitive levels. Not that they weren't necessarily competitive, they finished second last year, but I think it's a great revolution of the car. They put a huge amount of work into this. None of them seemed happy about it, but and possibly one of the most, barring like a social media post, one of the most basic launches we've seen as well, which it seems to be a recurring theme. If you're in the top 5, you only have to have a real basic launch. If you're in the bottom 5, you can have the most glamorous and ridiculous launch you want.
Yeah, it's funny, guys, now that you mention it, because like you said, McLaren and Mercedes today, Ferrari yesterday, it was all just kind of like a case of a 1 minute video, here's our car, as opposed to previous years where it was a big massive thing and there was a live stream on all day and whatever. And even Red Bull just kind of just driving around without a care in the world, so I was don't think they weren't going to be spotted. I mean, come on.
Red Bull already decided, if the pictures of the car get leaked, it doesn't matter. It's yeah, but in terms of what looks like the technical aspects, the design is hugely different. The side pods, they've basically gone, the zero pod idea doesn't work now. We're scrapping it. We've got 2 years to be competitive, 2 years to lay some foundations for the rule changes for 26. And that's the sign of a quality team, to learn from mistakes, learn from design flaws, and go, right, this is what we're going to do now. George Russell seemed a lot more positive about the car than Lewis Hamilton did. But for him, I think this year is a case of, I can push to be lead driver now and be the senior figure pushing forward towards 26. Obviously, with Lewis making one of the biggest jumps in Grand Prix history. So, yeah, I mean, that's my convoluted way of saying I'm quietly excited about Mercedes.
You think then this is going to be a pivotal season for George? You think he's going to be really pushing the envelope out and making sure he's ahead of Lewis to properly concrete that #1 driver position for next year?
It's a weird thing. Sort of going into the end of last season, it was like, oh, right, well, everyone's going to be in a holding pattern driver-wise because there's nothing really. There was no silly season and nothing to worry about. But now it actually looks like there is going to be a lot of competition, not just team to team, but driver to driver this year. And I said yesterday about the fact that this term is going to come up a lot with like gloves being off between drivers because they don't have to hold back. It's very much a case of they can push to win and get the most points every single race and not have to worry about team orders because it doesn't matter because drivers are leaving at the end of the season. And I think it might be a big benefit to the sport and also to the competition to have both drivers in both teams fighting for the most points possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think so, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. You know, Carlos Sainz was saying during the week that if there's any glimpse of World Championship this year, he wants to do it with Ferrari. Lewis has been saying similarly for his 8th title at Mercedes. I don't know if there's something for me this year. It feels a little different amongst the teams and the drivers. It just feels a little bit more alive. Like everybody's kind of out to get each other. So we'll just have to see.
Do you think there's going to be more competition between the Mercedes drivers, the Ferrari drivers, or the McLaren drivers?
I do think so. I think there'll be a lot more kind of team orders maybe being ignored and stuff like this. I think of when Bottas was announced to be leaving Mercedes in 2021 and he just blatantly ignored every team order that came his way, setting fastest laps and everything. So I think it's going to be a bit of like that.
I think that'll add to it. That'll add to the drama. That'll also add to the competitive levels throughout the sport across all the teams. Because I don't think there's a single team that doesn't have a driver with something to prove or something to gain from a very good season this year.
Yeah, 100%. Before we finish up, I'm just going to ask you very quickly: are you a fan of the silver and black livery? Because with the way they've done it, I love it. I have to say, I think it looks brilliant.
I think it has split people 50-50, and I personally think it looks great from the front, and I love the silver arrow look. And like I said earlier, it does feel a little bit like an identity crisis where we've got silver arrows, black livery, but we need some more silver on the back, and there's some blue here, and then we're going to put a little bit of red up the top. It kind of works in sort of a blending, but it's like maybe one solid color would have worked better. And like, I very much like a silver Mercedes, and that works for me. But I can see why people like it. I can see the blend from silver to black does work. I would have just liked it to be maybe a little bit more pronounced. But apart from that, there's some silver. There's that teal color, which I kind of like. And it doesn't look like just with Williams where it was like a sponsor board down the car. It actually looks like they put some thought into it, which, yeah. A competitive car that looks nice. I mean, you can't ask for more from Mercedes, hopefully.
No, definitely. Just one more question that's top of my head that I wanted to ask you before we go. I'm not going to ask you whether he can take his 8th title or not yet, because obviously we haven't started racing yet. You're not going to know who's favourite for the championship until the first couple of races get underway. But in your opinion, do you think Lewis Hamilton can get back to winning ways with this W15?
That would be great. And that would be great for him. That would be great for the sport, and it'd be great for Mercedes. And with the fact that he has his future very much already set and ready to go, he can put his all into this. And I would love to see a win from Lewis Hamilton this year. As hard as it is for a Red Bull fan to say that, it would be great for the sport. I think 8th title is a big ask, but certainly a win could be on the cards for him.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's hope so. Well, thank you very much again for joining us guys here on On-Track GP. And make sure you check the channel tomorrow. We'll be coming back with the final launch of 2024, of course, the Red Bull RB20. I know what that looks like already, but anyway. But yeah, keep it locked and loaded here on the channel. Keep up to date with all the news and ongoings of Formula One as we slowly but surely approach, should I say, the start of the season. So thank you very much, Jamie, for joining me. And we'll see you guys.
I'll see you from the Coliseum tomorrow, Coylan.
Nice one. I'll wave at you.